Hey guys, this is my 2000 4Runner. We're going to do a suspension replacement, hoping to get about 3 inches of lift. We got all 5100 Bilstein shocks and some old man coils. If you check it out on the table over here. Right here we got the front struts, Bilstein 5100s, the rear shocks, front coils, rear coils.
What do you have in the box there, Ethan?
Oh yeah, and we got a diff drop for the front. Take some pressure off your axle. Okay, so first things first. We gotta suspend the vehicle in the air and then take the tires off.
Make sure when you guys are doing this, you're using heavy jack stands. We use 3-ton jack stands, but make sure you use the ones heavy enough, the heaviest ones you can afford to use, because you don't want to jeopardize your stability at all. Alright guys, we're just jacking up the back of the vehicle right now. We're going to get it on some 3-ton jack stands. We got the jack hooked up. We got the jack hooked up to the rear differential, and that way you can pump up both wheels at the same time. You don't have to go side by side. We're actually going to need to drop the rear differential down to install the rear springs. So if you are working on the suspension components of your vehicle, you're going to want to use the jacks to support the frame of your vehicle. Don't put them on the axle of your vehicle, because we're going to actually have to drop that axle down one side at a time to get those springs in. So you're going to want to support it on the frame. Hey guys, right now we're just cutting up some 2x4s. We need a little more height on our jack stands to get the back up a little bit taller. I know most people probably wouldn't recommend doing this, but we're going to support the bottom of our jack stand securely on chunks of 2x4. We're on a flat, even surface, so I feel that it will be safe enough to do that. So we're just cutting up some 2x4s to do that. Hey you guys, so we're just going to measure the wheel wells here so we know what we've gained after the 3-inch lift. So right now the rear is sitting at about 34 inches and 3/4. 34 and 3/4. And the front, (34 1/4). We'll see what we get after the lift. Hey guys, as you lower the rear of the truck, you got to take the wheels off first, because since we're supporting the vehicle by the frame, the suspension is going to lower right down to the ground and your wheels will touch. So we got to take the wheels off before we lower the vehicle. Alright, here we are guys. Just about to start working on it. We got it all jacked up, supported, ready to go. And I'll show you the first thing we're going to tackle. Hey guys, so the first thing we're going to do is take the struts out of the front. We're going to start on the front suspension, and we're going to take the struts out. So the first thing we're going to do is loosen this lower bolt right down here. We're going to put an impact gun on this side and hold the other side with a wrench and take that off.
Alright, so I'll take off this nut here. That's pretty tight. There we go.
Hey guys, as you can see, we're having a little bit of trouble getting that lower nut out of the bottom of the strut. But we're going to unattach the outer tie rod end, and the upper control arm linkage, and that'll give our lower control arm enough play that should just pop right out, and then we'll remove the strut. But I think I'm just about to get this cotter pin out. I soaked it with WD-40 and I think I can grab it. Just about.
Wait a second, did he take out the cotter pins?
There's half of it. Get the other piece.
One thing we're going to do also is we're going to disconnect the outer tie rod, also disconnect the window.
Come on, there we go. Alright guys, we're just about to break the tie rod end free with the Pitman arm puller. So this puller is a little bit big for this application. So we had to put it on an angle, which isn't ideal, but I think it's still going to work. So here it goes. There it goes, guys. We got it.
She is.
Alright. So it did work. Thank God we didn't want to go all the way to the store to get another one. We live in the country and the store is a 30-minute drive.
Did you see that pop?
Alright you guys, so we're just trying to get the sway bar end links apart, and we got the nuts off, but they're rigid. They won't move. If you can see here, yeah, it won't move. It's sort of stuck. Why isn't this focusing? There. It's just sort of stuck in place right now. So there's brackets for the sway bar underneath the vehicle, right there. You can see that one. We're just gonna undo those. Focus. We're just gonna undo those and take the sway bar right off to get it out of our way.
All right. So what we're doing here is taking off the strut, just undoing the nuts on the top. Take a look in there. Jim's going out.
Tell them why we're undoing the strut right now.
I'm about to, buddy. We're undoing the strut because we couldn't get the sway bar off. It has too much tension in it. So we're hoping if we get the strut off, that'll release some tension. Then we can get more play by removing the sway bar.
What's up, you guys? Here we are. Ethan's trying to take off the nuts for the sway bar. The bottom nuts were welded, and we realized they were welded there for a reason, because we have to access them from the top side. I'll show you what he's trying to do right now. So can you just move your hand for a sec so I can show what you're...
Yeah, it's this guy.
So it's the top side of that.
Dude, let's just remove my whole sway bar and not put it back on.
What do you think, viewers? Should he do that? Comment below. No sway bar on a 4Runner and a lift? His older, wiser brother thinks it sounds like a rollover hazard. Being unstable on the highway.
Yeah, let's try this other guy. Yeah, there she is. Alright, so we've now removed the struts. We undid the bolts on the top. We undid the bottom bolt. And for some reason this sway bar link wouldn't pop off. So if you look under there, we just undid the little clip holding it to your frame so we can get some more play. And show you the other side. Same thing, front strut is out. Undid the bolts at the top. We're gonna be taking it apart and reassembling it. We'll show you that. And this one did manage to pop free, the sway bar link. And yeah.
So we're compressing these struts. We got them out of the vehicle. We're just about to start compressing them. We got the McPherson strut compressors. These are pretty common. The biggest thing is if your strut springs do not fit inside this groove, it means your strut springs are too large for the compressors. Ours fit in here, and the safety lock does go over the top of them, so we do know that these strut compressors are suitable for this. You want to just make sure that they're spread as wide apart as you can get them, because the further they are spread apart, the easier it's going to be to compress this spring. If you're only compressing 2 or 3 coils, you're going to have to compress them a lot more to actually get it to the point where you can take the strut out. So spread them out as wide as you can. Make sure they're evenly spread on either side. They're not on an angle. Make sure they're even, and then we'll crank the nuts 5 to 6 times per side, back and forth until this is compressed enough to take the strut out. So we'll start on this side here. It helps to have.
All right, so we managed to get the coil off the strut. What we did here, this is the second strut. All we did was take the nut off there, but it was on there pretty good. It was a bit of a struggle. Needed a 17 mil wrench to do it. And,
We had to go get a 17 mil wrench because we didn't have one.
Yeah, we actually had to go to the store.
So we had to drive into the big city to go get a 17 mil. But it worked, and now we're just decompressing the springs. Each side, a little bit at a time. So we're just assembling the struts right now. We're going to put the new struts in the new springs now that we have the top clamps removed. It's quite the fiasco getting the old springs out of the old struts. It's the first time we've done it, so I'm sure if you're a little more experienced with it, it wouldn't be as hard, but definitely a learning curve. All right.
Okay. Let's see if this is getting up here. First of all, we're gonna put on kind of like a little UFO looking washer. It goes this washer first, facing up like this, and then this kind of rubbery little perch.
So what way does the washer go? I didn't see that.
Oh, it goes like dish side up, like bowl, like you're gonna pour something into it.
Okay,
Yeah.
so that's the side that goes up.
First washer, little rubber mount up. This is the original OME washer, so if you get a different one, it could look different, but little nipple goes up.
We're reusing all our own hardware.
Yeah, all the old OME hardware. And then you put on the mount. We're gonna see if this fits properly first. see if I can fit this in there. We might need to tighten it a little more. I'll put on the rest of the stuff and we'll see. And then another rubber mount. And then another washer. And then the bolt. Obviously we need to tighten it more though.
And you want to make sure your old or your new coil or old coil, whatever you're using, matches up to the indentation on the back side of this rubber piece. You'll see, if you hand this to me, Ethan.
Yeah.
You'll see right here. See if it'll focus. Right here, you'll see the indentation of where the old spring sat in that seat. And you want to match the new spring up so it sits right in that same area right there.
Okay, so on the bottom of your strut mount goes rubber nipple washer, the original one. A UFO kind of looking thing with a dish, but the dish goes on like this with a lip facing upward.
Can't see that, it's on the frame.
The lip facing upward because it'll be like this. So that's the bottom. The top goes rubber mount right there. And then another washer facing, obviously, like you can see.
The concave side faces down.
Side facing down. You can see how it was on, obviously, but you might have a new one, but concave down. And the nut like that. So I'm just gonna put that on the new strut.
The OEM nut was 17 millimeters and the new one's 18 millimeters.
Yeah.
So go ahead and put that on the table, Ethan, put it together for everybody. So we finished tightening the nut, and as you can see, there's about 4 or 5 little splines on this nut showing. You can see right here. So we're gonna go ahead and decompress the strut and we'll be ready to install these things. So we just took off the skid plates and now we are installing the diff drop kit. It's a kit that'll drop the differential to correct the CV shaft angles. So we just removed the skid plate and now
19.
we are removing the 19 mil bolt that holds on the differential.
You need a 19 mil wrench to put on top. Forgot about that.
All right.
So on the top we have a 19 mil wrench, and we have a 19 mil socket on the impact wrench here, and we're just basically undoing these bolts, holding the diff arms up, and we'll do the same thing to the other side. If you see here, there's the exact same thing right over there. So
All right. So Ethan, do you want to slowly let down the diff?
Yeah.
Very slowly.
Let's turn to the left, don't I?
Yep. So we got the differential drop spacers in place, and now we're going to torque them to spec, which Ethan is just looking up what the spec is for the mounts for the front differential, and we'll tighten those ones up. Now the differential is looks like it's just sitting right on the cross member, like there's no gap. Looks like it's sitting right on there, but I think once we torque it to factory specs, it might raise it up just enough so it's not actually touching, is what we're hoping. You get it?
Almost.
All right, guys, we're just tightening the drop bracket mounts, and we're torquing them to factory spec, which is 101 foot-pounds. Here, I can actually pull. If you hold that on there, I can pull and make sure the wrench is in place.
Yeah. Fuck. Needs to be tight. There you go.
There we go, 101.
Hey. So, James is just down there retorquing everything we took off, the sway bar, linkage down there. We got the struts in. Haven't torqued the top nuts yet, but we will. And we got it in on the bottom. The strut's in on the other side also. Just need to retorque it. I'm working on the back. The rear shock, you want to start by taking off the rear shock. Just down here. Take the nut off, and on top, you gotta reach in back here with a 14 mil socket, and you gotta hold this part of the shock while you turn it. Otherwise, it'll just spin.
So we're just in the process of removing the rear shocks right now. Like I said before, we live on the West Coast, so our stuff isn't nice and pretty like the guys in California. We do have rust on the back of our truck, so things are seized, and pretty much there is a nut on the top of the shock that is up where Ethan is wrenching, and the bottom of the shock will spin, so we pinched it with a pair of vice grip pliers, and that seems to be the only way to crack that top nut and get it off. So that's it, you guys. If you're struggling to get your rear shocks off the back of your 4Runner, use a vice grip pair of pliers on the shock so you can hold it in place and get that nut cracked on top. That's awesome. This guy's not helping our motivation at all.
I think she's almost done.
You got it?
Almost.
So we stupidly forgot to film us installing the springs, but it wasn't that difficult. We took the old springs out, you pretty much muscled them out by hand. We lowered the differential down with the jack, and we undid the sway bar end links on either side. Right there, you can see it's undone. And there's also another sway bar that we uninstalled. There's the one end of the bracket for it, and there is the other end of the bracket. So we just loosened this sway bar off, and the rear sway bar on the back side of the rear axle, we took it off completely. Lowered the differential on our jack, and then we had a secondary jack, and we used that to pump up either side of the truck. And as we pump up one side, we'd get the spring in the opposite side, and then obviously do the same thing on the following side, and we were able to get them in. You reuse the same bump stops in our kit, so we just swapped our bump stops over from the old springs into these springs, and we got them in. Ethan's gonna start installing the Bilsteins in the rear. I'm still torquing down the front. We're gonna do a quick oil change and we're gonna be ready to rock and roll. So here we are, we're putting in the rear shock right now. Ethan put in the top first into the mounting bracket. At the very top, he slid that in there, and now he is just lifting the bottom into place to get on the lower shock bracket right there. Holy crap, we're almost done. Can you believe it? Just putting the wheels back on. We double checked all the torque specs and they're all good in all the wheels. We're just putting the wheels back on right now, and I think we're gonna do a quick oil change. We gotta put the skid plates on, and that's it. Then we'll do a measurement to see how much height we gained. Right, Ethan?
Yeah.
We're pretty tired. We've been going at this for almost, what do you think? 5 hours total?
Probably like 28 hours.
No, it's been more like 2 entire full days. Because we're not mechanics by any means, but we are mechanically inclined and still learning a lot of things. All right, let's get these wheels on. What's up, everybody? We're done once and for all. We're finally done the lift. So here it is. Here's the truck. We're all finished. We're gonna measure out the wheel wells. I'm not 100% sure, but I think before we said the front was a 34 1/4 before the lift. And now we're sitting at 37 inches. So that's 2 3/4 inch lift in the front that we got from the Bilstein 5100s and the old man emu coils. And then in the back, we got 37 inches.